you following this short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show today. The guest is Senator Thelma Harper, and of course Senator Harper, before we had our final commercial break, we were talking about some of the things involved in the whole process of voting. But let's again sort of shift the program a minute by seeing if we might be able to get from you, since you've been very intimately associated with the AGore campaign.
Yes.
What are some of the things that that we might anticipate over the next several weeks leading to the election? What are we planning on doing?
Over the next several weeks, we will be working to encourage young folk, older people to get involved in that campaign. We've got some bus loads going from here to New Hampshire in October. We're going to travel this country and tell his story because he can't do it all by himself. We're going to talk about the man that Albert Gore is and his sensitivity. He's a father, he's a husband, and he is the kind of young man that we expect our young men to emulate. So what we're asking is, we're meeting with the students from TSU and in the last campaign. You need to know that they circled the wagons. Those students had a march from that campus to the poll, and they voted heavier than any other box. So we're going to do that this time, try to energize them, and they can energize each other. On the Fisk campus, on the Meharry campus, the ABT, David Lipscomb, Vanderbilt, Trevecca, all of those students, because they are important.
That's a power.
That's
a power. That's an
they
energetic
hold the
power,
power in their hand. And they are what we call
That's
gophers.
right.
They
That's
have
right.
the energy
That's
that
right.
many of us do not.
All you got to do is fire them up.
And they can they maintain that
That's
knowledge
right.
that
That's
they
right.
get from reading about this is a first-hand experience. And it's unbelievable the number of calls we've had, folk wanting to volunteer. And we say there's room for all of us. We're going to get on those buses, and we are going to carry his message, because if you remember, it was the buses, the bus rides that got us the right to vote.
That's right.
Got us the opportunity to have what civil rights is really all about. So we'll have to do that again to show the sensitivity that he has for mankind.
Very good. And so I think that in a real sense, the campaign has already been laid out.
Oh, it has.
And the efforts have already been,
It has.
while it might appear as if there might be some stumbling, there's a stumbling in the right direction in terms of coming back to Tennessee.
Well, you know, I think it's important that he come back to his roots. And people have said, well, he went to school in D.C. and those kind of things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We raise our children up and they go to school across the country.
That's right.
But he has never forgotten home. And I think the sensitivity of the people who are here, we know him. So who can better tell his story than the people of Tennessee? And for us, it's a real compliment to have a national campaign.
It is.
Right here in
Speak
Tennessee.
to that,
and
because
right here in Nashville,
it seems that,
that there are many of us who have worked in national campaigns, but never have we had a national campaign here.
That's right.
You know, when Dukakis ran, he ran from his home state. When Jimmy Carter ran, he ran from his home state. When President Clinton ran, he ran from his home state. I'm sure that the other, Mr. Bradley, will run from his.
home.
So there's nothing abnormal about that. In the Beltway, the continuity really isn't there. And it's, well, the lifestyles are different.
It's Washington.
So it's Washington, D.C. It's the nation's capital. But this is Albert Gore's home. So I think it's a perfect place for him to bring his campaign and to bring us together so that we can tell what Albert Gore is really all about.
And lay out the issues of education and all of those things, and he is really...
And to lay out the issues of his family, what his daddy did, and what
He
his
did.
mother,
Yes,
what
he
his
did.
mother
Very
has
good.
done, and what he has done, and what his wife and what his children are doing. You know, he's a granddad now. So I think that speaks to something.
It does.
It does. So what we're asking is for people just to call, to come in and volunteer. There's room for all of us, and we're going to make it work. I'm excited about it, and I hope the listening audience is. I hope they will come to 2410 Charlotte Avenue, have their walking shoes on, have their suitcases packed to travel across this country and tell the story of Albert Gore. That's
Very
right.
good. Good. Senator Harper, we've got about a minute and a half here. Let's give you an opportunity over the last minute and a half to sort of speak to some of the issues that might be in your district, or some of the other issues that you know you just don't want to leave without saying something about today.
Well, let me just encourage your listening audience to become involved. I think one of the things that happens to us, We argue about issues after the fact. I think you know that we are having listening tours on how we're going to finance government, and we may do nothing. Now, there's been a substantial amount of time spent on the lottery. I think it's time to, you know, if we're not going to pass that, to go on to something else, because there are other more important issues. You know, when we look at what's happening to our young people, we traveled recently to St. Louis, Missouri, and they have the same problems that we have. That's child abuse. You know, we have people who think nothing about killing a child. There's domestic violence, and there's the incarceration of young people because we have not taught them how to behave. So we're going to work on that, and I ask our community to get more involved. When you receive a notice about coming to a meeting, come. If you can't come, send someone. Participate.
And more important, just get out and vote.
Get out and vote. Yes, register and vote. Don't just register. And when you go to the polls, carry someone with you. That's how I got in office, because people carried someone with, and they voted for me. And I hope they'll do it again.
And they will. And Senator Harper, let me thank you over the last 15 to 20 seconds that we have here for coming by and giving us that excellent information. Every time you come, you just bring such a wealth of information and such an intensity dealing with the state, the General Assembly and whatnot. And we know by various messages that we see of you in the newspaper and everything that you're doing a great job. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition. Thank you and good morning.